All right, let's talk about one of the most stressful, most critical decisions for any new business, pricing. But we're not just going to pull a number out of thin air. No, we're going to build a whole new way of thinking about it, a framework that can seriously change the game for you. Let's dive in.
I mean, this is the question, right? It keeps you up at night. How much do you actually charge for this thing you've poured your heart and soul into? If you go too high, you worry you'll scare everyone off. But if you go too low, you could be leaving a ton of money on the table. Or even worse, making your product look cheap and not valuable. It feels like this impossible guessing game.
Well, here's the thing. The single biggest mistake pretty much everyone makes is starting from the totally wrong place. They start by adding up their costs. That entire approach is completely backwards, and we're about to show you exactly why, and give you a much better way to do it.
So first things first, we need a major mindset shift. You have to stop thinking of pricing as a single number you just set and forget. It's not. It's a strategic process, something that lives and breathes and evolves right along with your business.
Think of it like this. Your first price? That's just your best educated guess, a starting point. From there, it's all about experimenting. You get feedback from real customers, you see what the market does, and you slowly, methodically spiral closer and closer to a much better answer. It's dynamic.
So a real pricing framework isn't just about cranking up the revenue or even just getting a ton of customers. It's this delicate balancing act. You're constantly weighing more money against more users, while also factoring in, your business model, what the other guys are doing, and frankly, how new or mature your product really is.
And this right here, this brings us to the absolute #1 core principle of smart pricing. It has nothing to do with what your product costs you to build. It has everything to do with the value it creates for your customer.
Now this slide is awesome because it just flips the old way of thinking completely on its head. The old cost-plus model starts with your costs. Then you add some profit margin to get your price, and then you just cross your fingers and hope the customer thinks it's worth it. The new, value-based way, it starts with the customer's value first. Then you set a price to capture a piece of that value. And only then do you look at your costs to see if you can make a profit. It's a total reversal.
So how do you actually figure out that value? You do it with your quantified value proposition, or QVP. And this isn't some fuzzy, vague marketing promise. This is the hard, measurable dollars and cents benefit your customer gets. So, for example, if your software saves a team 10 hours of work a week, and they're paid $50 an hour, boom, your QVP is $500 a week. That number is now the most important input you have.
Okay, so you have your QVP, the value you're creating. Where do you start with the price? A fantastic rule of thumb is to aim to capture about 20% of that value. So, if your product saves a customer $10,000 a year, a great starting price to test would be somewhere around $2,000.
But of course, that 20% isn't some magic number written in stone. If you've got zero competition, hey, maybe you can capture more. And this is where your business model is so brilliant. A flexible monthly subscription that a customer can cancel anytime, well, that's way less risky for them than a huge upfront payment. And because you're lowering their risk, you can justify charging a higher percentage of the value.
So this is absolutely crucial. Since your price is all about value, you have to protect that conversation at all costs. That means you never, ever talk about your own internal costs with customers. And here's the controversial part. You probably shouldn't even tell your own sales team. I know, it sounds crazy, but their job is to close deals, and their natural instinct is always to use low costs to justify a lower price, which just completely blows up your entire value-based strategy.
Now, to really nail this value-based pricing thing, you've got to step outside of your own building, get out of your own head. You need to deeply, truly understand the customer's world and see this whole decision entirely through their eyes. See, your product doesn't exist in a vacuum. Your customer is always comparing your price to their alternatives. And that includes your direct competitor, sure, but it also includes weird workarounds and spreadsheets, and maybe most importantly, the cost of them doing nothing at all, their status quo. What pain are they just living with right now, and what is that costing them? That's your real competition.
And remember, not all customers are the same. Your first buyers, the tech enthusiasts and early adopters, they buy because something is new and visionary. They really aren't that sensitive to price. But the big wave of customers, the early and late majority, these are the pragmatists. They're driven purely by return on investment. For them, your QVP is everything, and they are super price sensitive.
So how in the world do you handle those first crucial customers? Well, the strategy here is often the complete opposite of what your gut tells you to do. There's this famous quote from legendary entrepreneur Mitch Kapor. He said that while you'll probably sell half as many units as you predict, the good news is you can sell to that first group of buyers at twice the price you think is possible. And why is that? It's because these early customers, they're just built different.
So the playbook becomes crystal clear. You want to start with a high anchor price and then offer strategic discounts. It's way easier to come down in price than it is to try and raise it later. Be flexible with your first few testers, for sure, but never ever discount the ongoing revenue. That permanently devalues your product. And finally, use confidentiality agreements so that the more price-sensitive folks who come later can't point to those early deals you made.
And the logic here is actually really simple. Your first customers, those early adopters, they're buying for totally different reasons. They often have innovation budgets, they're trying to get a competitive edge, and they are fundamentally less sensitive to price than the mainstream market you'll sell to later. You're selling to two different groups, so you need to price accordingly.
Okay, let's pull all of this together and crystallize it into a clear, actionable framework. This can be your new pricing mantra from this day forward.
Here it is, in 4 steps. 1. Always start by quantifying the value you provide with your QVP. 2. Use that 20% rule as your initial best guess. 3. Get obsessed with understanding who your customer is and what their other options are. And 4. Never stop. Never stop listening, testing, and iterating on your price. It's a living thing.
Look, if you remember only one single thing from this entire explainer, please let it be this. Your price is not a reflection of your costs. It is a reflection of the value you create for your customer. Period. End of story.
Because ultimately, your price is so much more than just a number on a page. It's a critical part of your product's story. It signals your confidence, it positions you in the market, and it communicates exactly how much value you believe you're creating. So the real question is, what story will your price tell?